Good evening and welcome to the briefing room. I'm Madhav Das Gopalakrishnan. We begin this bulletin with some breaking news coming in. In fact, there is an update coming in from the government on the entire issue of whether a special parliament session will be held later this month. The government has come out and denied any such report and has said that they will not extend the ongoing monsoon session of Parliament as well. So a big update coming in. Let me take this across to my colleague Pragya, who's joining us for more on this. Pragya, very clear clarification coming in from the government. There is not going to be any extension of this session, and there will be no special session either to pass the delimitation and the women's bill as was being speculated earlier today.
Absolutely, Madhav, and the information that we have got from the government sources and highly placed government sources is that they have every intention to bring delimitation and women reservation in this session itself. The sentiment in the government is that it is of no use to have a special session if opposition doesn't come on the floor and doesn't agree for a debate. So, the intent was to reach out to the government, and that is why Mr. Kiran Rijiju had a very long session with Mr. Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi today. Everything depends on how Congress is going to react to the discussion that has held today. In fact, government is also waiting for Mr. Rahul Gandhi and Congress to come back to them, and it is then they will decide when to bring FCRA, when to bring delimitation. The feelers have been given by Mr. Rahul Gandhi to government that they would want a statement from Home Minister Mr. Amit Shah first. So in a way, government also knows that the stand of the Congress would remain same even if there is a special session, but there is no discussion of special session whatsoever. In the morning as well. In fact, Mr. Kiran Rijiju, Parliamentary Affairs Minister, himself denied that there was no discussion that was held about the special session.
All right, Pragya, thanks so much for joining us. All eyes on what bills are brought into Parliament tomorrow and whether the FCRA bill which has been introduced will be discussed at all. Thanks so much for that update. And viewers, moving on to our top focus. Over 500 million users are in Meta's various platforms globally. But are they really safe? Is Meta following the law of the land? The social media giant is now under pressure over a series of controversies. Top government sources have told Times Now that several key issues were raised during the meeting held with Meta officials earlier today, including the temporary removal of Prime Minister Modi's Facebook video. Top Meta executives are in Delhi for discussions with government officials. Now, top sources are telling Times Now that Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg has also apologized over concerns linked to obscene content on the platform. Sources suggest the government made it clear that Meta can't claim intermediary protection if it is actively deciding which content reaches users. Officials are learned to have also told the company that the safe harbor protection under the IT Act may not apply in such situations. Sources also claim that Meta admitted payments were made to promote certain categories of content and expressed regret over this issue. The talks come amidst a wider debate over accountability of social media platforms and their role in controlling content online. Let's first begin with the timeline of what really has happened in terms of the run-ins that Meta has had with the government just over the last few days. What are we talking about? On July 28th, the Prime Minister's video briefly became unavailable on Facebook, and Meta acknowledges the error, restores the video. On the 3rd of August 2026, the parliamentary panel meets Meta and ex-officials. On the 5th of August, Meta is given a 3-day ultimatum for an apology. And sources have said that Zuckerberg apologized to the government, and Meta has confirmed there was an apology to the government over the Prime Minister video deletion. So what is Mark Zuckerberg apologizing for? Let's analyze this in detail. Here's what top sources are telling Times Now. One, there is, of course, the controversial child sex abuse material or CSAM advertisements that were found on Meta platforms. Now, clearly, there's also deepfake content that has found its way on Meta platforms, errors in the operating platform itself, and the very fact that the payments made to boost certain content which is raising the hackles of the government. Now, during the interaction with government officials today, Meta's top officers also made some big admissions, something that the government would hope Meta would correct in the future. What are these issues? One, illegal content promoted on the platform, paid promotion targeting specific audiences. Acknowledge the mistake and we express regret is what sources are telling Times Now Meta has told the government. Now, the government has sent out a clear message to Meta. Control over content comes with responsibility. And sources say that during this high-level discussion with Meta executives, government officials questioned the platform's claim to intermediary protection when it actively decides what content is shown to users. The government's position, therefore, sources add, is that the law, in fact, applies equally to all platforms and there can be no special treatment. At the center of the debate is Meta's safe harbor protection under the IT Act. Sources say that officials convey that if a platform is only acting as an intermediary, it gets protection under the law. Here's the law under question that we are discussing. 1. The legal shield for online intermediaries. No liability for users' online posts. Immunity only with due diligence. Loss of immunity invites legal action, and the removal of unlawful content, if asked, in fact, it has applied to Meta, Google, and YouTube in the past as well. So what are we talking about in terms of why this should concern Mark Zuckerberg, and why should he care really about what's happening here in India? Because India isn't just another market. It's Meta's biggest user base anywhere in the world. What are we talking about? We're talking about WhatsApp, we're talking about Instagram, and we're talking about Facebook. So the first platform that we're talking about is WhatsApp. There is, of course, Instagram, Insta as we refer to it in short, and there is also Facebook. What is the total number of users on each of these platforms? It's huge, ladies and gentlemen. WhatsApp itself has 600 million plus viewers and users here in India at the moment. We're talking about Instagram. Instagram has over 481 plus million users as far as Instagram in India is concerned. And we're also talking about Facebook, which of course caters to an older demographic, unlike Insta, which has of course 481 million users. 403 million here as far as Facebook is concerned, catering to perhaps Gen X, millennials as well. But all of these platforms have huge numbers in terms of the users here in India. If Meta exercises control over content decisions, the question of accountability comes in, as millions of users are on their platform. The big question now is, will Meta's apology address the government's concerns, or will this scrutiny continue? This is sparked off a political fight between the BJP and the opposition as well. Listen into the war of words.
कि CSAM चाइल्ड सेक्सुअल एब्यूज मटेरियल को भी ये लोग डाउनलोड नहीं करते, डाउन नहीं करते, सब के सब चलते रहते। अब जितने आप ये समझिए कि नए नए जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बनते हैं, जैसे एंटी रिजर्वेशन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बना, आपको पता है कि उसका जो एडवर्टीजमेंट है, वो जो पॉर्न वीडियो चलते हैं, जो सेक्सुअल वीडियो चलते हैं, उसके ऊपर वो ऐड चला के जो है लोगों को ल्यूर करते हैं, उसके साथ वो मेंबर बनाते हैं।
This is a government which relied on social media for its own propaganda. Now suddenly a new generation has beaten them. I can't verify whether Meta has apologized or if who's done it. I'll be very, very surprised if there is an apology letter from a company like Meta. They should file it in the New York Stock Exchange.
अगर कहीं कोई कंटेंट अमर्यादित है या कुछ गलत है तो निसंदेह उसको हटना भी चाहिए, उस पर कार्रवाई भी होनी चाहिए। लेकिन भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार की नीयत क्या है? सब जानते हैं कि विपक्ष के नेताओं की जो रीच होती है सोशल मीडिया की, वो कैसे कम हो जाती है। भारतीय जनता पार्टी अभिव्यक्ति की आज़ादी को दबा देना चाहती, कुचल देना चाहती है।
Now, after all, Meta does not only have millions of users on their platform, but the platform also generates revenue in crores from India alone, which is why accountability of such platforms becomes crucial. Here's what we're talking about. The revenue of Meta India. Let's take a look at the revenue as well as the profit that Meta India makes. This is the revenue. We're also going to talk about the profit that this particular wing of Meta, for one of its biggest markets, what is the amount that it makes? In terms of revenue, it is at 3,793 crores. That's a huge amount of money as far as the revenue generated is concerned. Meta India's net profit is at 643 crores, 48 crores, I beg your pardon. So that's 648 crores. Huge amount. 23793 and 648 crores. That's the amount of revenue. And this is something that directly impacts on society, impacts on users. Perhaps, therefore, the government has decided to step in and enforce the law, is what the government says. Let's quickly open this up to our panelists. With us is Pradeep Bhandari, BJP national spokesperson. Also with us is Kanish Gaur, founder of the India Future Foundation. Brajesh Kalappa, Congress spokesperson, is with us. And Ritesh Bhatia is a cyber security expert. Brajesh, let me begin with you. If the government has said that Meta has apologized, and Meta in his one-line statement has also acknowledged the same, is there a point to what the government has done in terms of getting them to apologize? Particularly, we know the recent expose as far as CSAM materials that are available, the huge amount of deepfakes, etc., that are available on Meta. How do you look at this? Brajesh.
See, Madhav, for nearly 12 years, the BJP has been misusing the social media. It has been misusing these very platforms. In fact, I have details of how much was spent in the first 3 years under Mr. Modi on publicity and other material. It was 3,755 crore till 20 paid promotion and all this. It sounds extremely hollow. Now, here is a Prime Minister who went to Zuckerberg and had an interview with him. Now, I don't understand why Honorable Prime Minister Modi has to go to Zuckerberg, have an interview with him, and then have a fallout with him publicly. This has happened exactly the same way with Mr. Donald Trump also. Mr. Modi is unable to face him now. It's also happened with Xi Jinping. He had a much, proclaimed
What are you trying to convey there,
meeting with Mr. Xi Jinping, and today they can't see eye to eye. Why? I don't know what is happening to this country, that the chief executive of our country, he has a relationship and then he has a fallout with that very same person. Point is this, Madhav, I think we all have to realize that popularity of Mr. Modi has dipped below ground level. I think this is something which the BJP has to accept.
I'm going to ask this question to the BJP. Brajesh,
Mr.
one
Modi
second.
had a high popularity.
No, certainly the BJP must answer on the various allegations that you have leveled. But may I ask you a simple question as a citizen? If there is child sexual abuse material that was exposed by an international channel, which you also must have seen, should the government not take action in such a situation? Because this is something that affects everyone across party lines, across regions.
No, I agree. It must take, certain action on this. But do you trust a person like Nishikant Dubey to do that? The man is faking a degree just like the Prime Minister. Point is this, Mother, that if you're going to make use of some child sex abuse, kind of allegations, and try to browbeat a company like Meta, then I don't agree with it at all.
Okay.
This is a
Pradeep Bhandari, answer that. This is an attempt. Okay, I'm taking your question forward. Pradeep Bhandari respond. He says this is an attempt to browbeat Meta. Of course, action must be taken on CSAM and such sensitive materials, but the manner in which it's happening through a parliamentary panel raises questions about whether this is being done for some political motives. He is alleging that BJP has misused social media platforms in the past. Your response to Brajesh Kalappa?
At the outset, it is so unfortunate that the Congress spokespersons are so absolutely not well-read and they have the same narrative on every debate. So let me first answer the political points and then I'll come to the substance on it. Let's say I meet Brajesh Kalappa tomorrow, and tomorrow I and Brajesh Kalappa have a tea, and day after tomorrow Brajesh Kalappa is charged of murder. Does it mean that the law will not charge Brajesh Kalappa and not act against Brajesh Kalappa just because Brajesh Kalappa met me? What type of a foolish argument he is making? Point number one. Point number two, if the Congress party believes that likes on social media is equal to the popularity on the ground, they have been living in this la-la land since 2019 and they're still sitting on opposition. He made a personal remark on Nishikant Dubey. I believe Mr. Dubey should file a defamation case against him and drag him to court. Now let me come to the point. The point is not about spending advertising money on Meta. The point is that the platform which enjoys Section 79 and protection under the IT Act, can it behave like a publisher and can it amplify or de-amplify a particular type of content? Can it promote and earn money from promoting sexually abusive content and child pornography? Point number three, a platform is not looking at interfering or amplifying a particular narrative. If it do so, it is interfering in the democratic process of the country. We've seen whether in European Union where the Meta has to pay a fine of more than £700, it can happen in any country. So the rule of law prevails and the law of the land prevails, and the government is acting as per the law of the land. The Congress party is always in the habit of being subjugated by a quote-unquote foreign master. So if there is an action as per a lawful agency, they will have a problem with it. I understand it. If the Congress tomorrow believes that any of the BJP, evidences are against any person in the Bharatiya Janata Party abusing quote-unquote the platform, it can go to the court. But please tell me, what is our priority as a government? That a platform should behave as a platform. A platform tomorrow starts interfering in the democratic process. It is not in the interest of the sovereignty of the country. And it's not new. We have seen
but then Pradeep, the question is, why has it taken the government so much time to take this action? Because if this abuse has been happening from Meta's side for quite some time, admittedly, why is the government woken up now is what many are asking.
That is a legitimate question, because if the Honorable Prime Minister's post can also be de-amplified, I wonder how 140 crore Indians will have a trust on such a platform. Because imagine if at the higher echelons of any government servant this is happening, what will a normal content creator who uses this platform to express his opinion will tomorrow know that somebody of a particular ideology de-amplifies his content just because he does not want a particular regime in this country?
But then are you acknowledging the opposition's concern that it's only happening, the action is being taken only after the Prime Minister's content or the video was deleted?
No, in the past also there have been places where the Meta has been flagged, but there is always a tipping point, and now all the evidences have been collected and the action has been taken. And I believe that the action should be welcomed because it will be in the larger democratic interest. And I wonder why Congress party is believing in backing those who promote pornography and sexually perverted content.
No, to be fair, Brajesh has said no to that. He said that should be done. But let me ask a question of Brajesh. Let me put your point across. The simple point is this. What Pradeep is arguing is that the Prime Minister's video is perhaps a tipping point. It's a legitimate question as to why it didn't happen earlier. But if these intermediaries abuse their position and the safe harbor under law, under the IT Act that is given to them, and start behaving like publishers, why should that safe harbor not be removed? And that's exactly what the government has done today. Answer that question, Brajesh.
See, Madhav, I think the first thing is that there has to be some kind of linkage between what has happened with regard to child pornography and the Meta, first thing. And second is linking the entire thing to what happened with Meta, removing the Prime Minister's post. I think this is, as clear as, as water, that if something is being done, right, you're going to use some other a kind of deficiency of a person to blow down on that person. And this is exactly what the government is doing. I think it's obvious to everybody who's seeing this that for years and years you do nothing about child pornography, and suddenly this has become a very important issue the moment something has happened with regard to the Prime Minister's kind of post.
But Meta has acknowledged that was an error. They have given a statement saying that was an error.
That what kind of a bully, what kind of a, one minute, let me just complete a thought. It shows what kind of a bully the government is. On the one hand, they come down, double down on a 15-year-old girl, get her to apologize, right? And on the other hand, they're also, making use of somebody like Nishikant. I just heard what the BJP spokesperson said. He said, Nishikant Dubey is going to file charges against me. That's great. But why not the Prime Minister? I made a similar comment about the Prime Minister.
Okay,
said,
hypocrisy on ground. A 15-year-old girl is hounded. But, it is a platform in this case that is being targeted. Answer Brajesh's question, please. Pradeep, and then I go across to other panelists.
Yes, we will act. We will act in whatever means possible against those foreign platforms who attempt to break the Indian law. We are not Rajiv Gandhi, Indira Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru or Sonia Gandhi who succumbed to foreign pressure. We are absolutely not that. So yes, we are acting. Point number one. Point number 2, a very specific point. He should be the last person who should speak about FIR. There are 3 youth who have, on which the Congress party has filed FIR, and they are in jail just because they criticized Rahul Gandhi. And the story was also broken by Times Now few days back. I will come to the moot point. What is the moot point? The platform has admitted that and has apologized that it attempted to amplify a particular type of narrative and de-amplify a particular type of narrative. It does not stop here. A, what is the transparency on the algorithm of the platform? How will the people of the country who are using that platform have faith that whatever their views, it will not be de-amplified or barred by the platform just because certain officials sitting in the platform have a particular ideology and they want a particular regime in the country? Point number 2. Point number 3, who in Meta, if Meta has acknowledged that it has attempted to do so, who in Meta boosted these certain type of posts? Who took that call? And the law should also be applied on that individual, because we are not governed by the algorithms, we are governed by the Constitution of India and rule of law, and this is what Supreme Court and High Courts also in the past have said.
Okay.
If the Congress party believes that Meta or Facebook is above the Constitution of India, be it for the Congress party.
No, definitely. Everyone has to follow the law. And let me bring in Ritesh Bhatia on that. Now, Ritesh Bhatia, if there's brazen violation of the law that is being conducted by these social media platforms which are acting as publishers, the question I just asked Brajesh, why should the government not act on them? Because for years they've hidden behind various judgments and laws. Is it now high time that they also face the strong arm of the law if they are in violation of it?
Absolutely. So, Madhav, if you see, we are already in 2026. Okay, 6 months and 7 months, and we are already into 2026, and that is 26 years back. The IT Act 2000 was there, which was, of course, amended in 2008. That was the time when only emails were there and websites were there. But today we are in the era of artificial intelligence. So if you're talking about the law part of it, and I know you're referring to the safe harbor agreement, which is over there. Now, these guys are hiding behind the safe harbor agreement. Now, who's given them this? It's our old law. So I think, the first thing that needs to be done on top priority is not just apologies. It's like a lot more has to be done, because right now the accountability, if you see, it is also of the government and of course of the Meta. And more than that, Meta has a black box algorithm as such, which means whatever they put inside their AI, whatever feeds you're seeing, there is a secret inside as to what you're going to see. And that particular, there are many algorithms. One of them is the black box algorithm, which most of these big tech guys depend upon, and they have developed also as such. Now that also needs to be investigated. But more than that, firstly, the safe harbor agreement and so on, I think this needs to be scrapped. Now, coming to the child sexual abuse material. Now, this was highlighted by BBC somewhere on the 3rd of July. But the action that we are seeing is just an apology. Now, if we have to see what has the European Union done, they have the DSA, the Digital Services Act. If there was something like this that happened over there, Meta would have been penalized 6% of its global annual turnover. When you were talking about the revenue of Meta, which is right now on your screen also, which is, 3,800 crores as such, this would have amounted to, you can just imagine, 100,000 crores of rupees if we had to calculate that, Madhav.
Absolutely. And in fact, let me take this question across to Kanishk as well. Kanishk, is an apology enough? Is it high time we amend the law? Or should we see more action under existing laws that can be taken against these platforms? And it's not only about Meta, because I'm sure there are similar violations that are taking place on other social media as well. For instance, there is sexually explicit material on several other social media platforms.
See, what we are fighting against today is AI-led deception, social engineering, and disinformation. Our current IT Act and the significant social media intermediary guidelines are not enough to counter the advance of AI. What is needed in this country is new laws to govern AI-led deception. And that should look at areas like election interference, child sexual abuse material, how do you safeguard Indian users, national security. If you look at EU, they have a new law. They have the EU AI Act that has come in, and that penalizes these platforms in a big way. What is currently lacking is a new IT law which focuses on artificial intelligence and the harms artificial intelligence can bring to the Indian democracy. Until unless we don't have a full-fledged law on AI, we won't be able to penalize. See, even if you look at How many times have we penalized these platforms financially versus EU? Look at one instance. Have we penalized them? So far, no. Blank apologies have no meaning today until and unless you have specific measures that are built in, safeguarded, and implemented on ground. Now, if there would be another instance, would we go back and ask for another apology? No, there has to be a law of the land which is applicable to all companies which are generating so much amount of profit, generating so much amount of revenue from India. Have to bring out more accountability from these platforms that they respect.
Let's put that question. In fact, Pradeep, you should answer that question. Why has our law not kept up pace with technology? Whether it is AI, whether it is these social media platforms and their misuse, whether it's deepfakes, all of these things need to be fixed, and these platforms have to be held accountable. If our laws are not updated, how are we going to do that as a country? Pradeep.
I completely am in agreement with the gentleman who spoke before me. I am completely in agreement that an apology is not enough. I am completely in agreement that these platforms cannot have a free pass because India has a huge market for them. If they can pay fines in European Union, if these people can testify in front of US Congress, they should respect the Indian Parliament and Indian law also. I am completely in agreement with it. I call here for some amount of political unity because this is not about the BJP or Congress. This is about the Indian democracy. It is about the freedom of expression which is given under Article 19(1)(a) and not just limited to this platform. Any platform in an age of AI needs to disclose complete transparent algorithm. The people and the viewers who use the platform should have a right to redressal. It is completely a black box. And this is a tipping point where this country's conversation has moved towards complete accountability on these quote-unquote large giants. And I am 100% in agreement. But unfortunately, the Congress party is looking at politics. Because please note, it is nothing to do with BJP or Congress. It is about somebody else sitting in abroad, having a lever and deciding what this country will think, which content will move forward in this country, which content will not through. And in fact, Madhav, publishers like you, who pay certain significant amount of tax and have a huge advertising revenue, these platforms also are also putting in and not even sharing advertising revenue with publishers.
Absolutely, and that's why several countries have brought in those laws. No, I agree with you. It's high time that those kind of things also happen.
I am completely...
Yeah,
Yes.
and let me bring in Brajesh. Brajesh, many jurisdictions have, for instance, banned social media for teenagers. They're under 16, if I'm not mistaken. There are many jurisdictions which have made it necessary for publishers to get a portion of the revenue that these, intermediaries, so-called intermediaries, which are now perhaps going to be categorized as publishers, generate. So, is it high time that we bring in those laws? Here you have Pradeep Bhandari, who is saying that it is the opposition which is politicizing it, whereas we all need to be politically united to preserve our national interests from foreign intermediaries. Your response to that?
See, Madhav, as far as, this kind of allegation that about foreign interference and so on and so forth, we have been hearing it in this country for many, many years, right? So first thing is, I think every political leader has to have some kind of a reality check. Where is the state of his popularity? Let's assume Mr. Modi had put in a Facebook post in 2014. What would the responses have been? You take a look. Maybe your viewers take a look. How many of them were positive of his conduct and his general, popularity? And what is it today, right? Most of what people say today are negative comments about Mr. Modi. So I think the BJP has to understand and has to read the writing on the wall. I think there is nothing more evocative than that. If they're going to bury their head in the sand, they're welcome to. They're welcome to, because I think the outcome of 2029 is absolutely clear.
Okay,
and
no, that is not my question.
Trying to fix Meta and...
Rajesh, you have every right to hold the government accountable. I'm not taking away from that, but you've not answered my question anyway. Since you made a charge, I'm going to let Pradeep respond to you.
Please. See, I was purposely not bringing this, but let me dumb down the conversation to Congress's level. Rahul Gandhi's total followers on Instagram are 15 million. Prime Minister's followers on Instagram are 105 million. It is the max. He is the most followed leader on Instagram and on Meta globally. His reach is 110 times that what Rahul Gandhi's per reel gets. Please look at his last 3 reels. So if we were in interest of quote unquote our reach is coming, sir. But that is not the point. We are here about protecting the reach and the freedom of expression of the people of India. And this is where I come to Madhav, that whenever it comes to any national interest, the Congress party can never come on the table because they are controlled by somebody foreign sitting.
All right. I think now we are veering away from the debate. I want to bring it.
Not go to Jharkhand
Pradeep, allow me to come in. In fact, let me just bring in other panelists as well. In fact, I want to bring in Kanishk on one simple point. Kanishk, there is a difference in what we are hearing from government sources of what transpired in this particular meeting and the different statement that is being quoted to Mr. Kaplan of Meta, where he says that the apology was given for the deletion of the Prime Minister's video. But that statement does not acknowledge all that was stated from government sources in terms of either the child sexual abuse material or the kind of deep fakes, etc., that were there in the running of the platform and details regarding its intermediary status. Why do you think there is a discrepancy?
See, there are two separate issues. One is CSAM related issues, and the other is the deletion of the Prime Minister's video. Mark Zuckerberg has apologized on the Prime Minister's blockage of the video. When it comes to CSAM, that issue is separately dealt with Mighty, and they have been called by the Standing Committee of the Parliament, and that issue is being discussed right now. Why Meta's algorithms are unable to find CSAM material and why it continues to propagate. Now, when it comes to aspects like this, we are mixing these two issues together. Obviously, it's the same company. It requires more safeguards that they need to deploy. But the impact, if you block the Prime Minister of a country, that it will have on functioning of democracy calls for a larger question on how these platforms are accountable. And at the same time, you saw deepfakes, which were paid ad campaigns, which were run from outside the country of the Prime Minister to promote specific frauds. Now, the whole question is around if the person who is the Prime Minister, he is not being properly dealt by the platform, what would be the plight of the people of this country who are being defrauded millions of rupees every day? If I look at the scams which happen, and I've investigated these scams personally myself, I can tell you every day there is 50 crores worth of scams which are happening, and money is going out through cryptocurrencies, and these land.
No, certainly that's a very, very serious concern. I did mention the scams at the start, but Ritesh, what can be specifically done? I mean, it's of course going to take time to amend the law. In the existing law, what all can the government do? What punitive action can be taken to plug all these gaps in our legal system and in this entire social media space?
No, I don't agree that it is going to take so much of time to amend the law and all, because, see, as I told you earlier also, it was IT
Look at
Act
Parliament is not functioning, sir. Look at the deadlock we've seen for the last few weeks.
So in that particular case, the Digital India Act, which was tabled in 2023, or sorry, not even tabled, it was, drafted in 2023 and all that. What has happened about that? So we are already, if you see, we are already 26 years late. And you know what? With technology is something that is moving 100 steps ahead every second. We are not even able to go one step ahead. So I think like what Brijesh is saying, what the Pradeep is saying, that okay, they need to come together and all. So I think it's very, very important, because if this is Digital India, then what we need to do is first bring the Digital India Act immediately, and that needs to. Why didn't we have the Data Privacy Act that had come?
Ritesh, you've actually just proved my point. My point is that it's very difficult to get political parties to agree in this country, whichever the government may be. It's not only with the current government, it's the same case that we've seen in past governments. But unfortunately, the more things change, the more they unfortunately remain the same. Ritesh Bhatia, as well as Brajesh Kalappa, Kanishk Gaur and Pradeep Bhandari, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us this evening.